It started quietly, almost too quietly for anyone to notice. While the world celebrated Ronaldo's victories on the pitch and admired the perfect picture of love between him and Georgina, someone watched from the shadows. Someone whose heart still burned with memories, jealousy, and unfinished emotions. That someone was Irina. The public saw her as the glamorous model, the confident woman who had moved on. But deep inside, Irina carried a storm. A storm she never truly calmed since the day Ronaldo walked out of her life. To everyone else, it seemed like just another breakup in the glittering world of fame. But for Irina, it was humiliation, rejection, and heartbreak all in one. She told herself she didn't care. Yet every time she saw a photo of Ronaldo and Georgina smiling together, it tore her apart in silence. At first, she tried to ignore it. She told herself time would heal everything. But time didn't heal her. It only reminded her that she had lost someone she could never replace. That loss turned into obsession, and that obsession began to twist her thoughts. She started following every story about Ronaldo and Georgina. Their vacations, their family moments, their interviews. She watched them not as a fan, but as a woman trying to find a weakness. A small crack in their perfect world. And when she couldn't find one, she decided to create one. Her first attempts were subtle. A few social media posts, cryptic captions, old memories resurfaced just at the right moment. A photo of her in Madrid. A quote about unfinished love. A story of what could have been. Her followers ate it up. The tabloids speculated. And whispers began to rise. But Ronaldo ignored it. Georgina laughed it off. To them, it was just noise. A ghost of the past trying to stay relevant. That made Irina furious. Being ignored was worse than being hated, so she tried again, this time bolder. She arranged a private meeting with a few photographers, people who owed her favors. She gave them instructions, very specific ones. "Make it look real," she said, her voice cold, her eyes burning with determination. They didn't question her. Fame and money can silence conscience easily. A few days later, Irina posted something new. A photo. Blurred, dimly lit, but convincing enough. It looked like Ronaldo standing close to her, whispering something. The angle was perfect. The background unclear. The caption simple. "Sometimes old stories never die." The internet exploded. Fans went crazy. Headlines screamed, "Irina and Ronaldo spotted together again? Ronaldo's secret meeting behind Georgina's back?" Georgina saw it too. She sat on her phone in disbelief, her hands trembling slightly as she scrolled through the comments. She didn't want to believe it, but the image was so realistic. For a brief moment, doubt crept in. That's all Irina needed. Just one crack in the trust between them. But Ronaldo was calm. He knew Irina's game. He told Georgina, "Don't let lies control what's real." His voice was firm, reassuring. He immediately called his team, checked his schedule, confirmed he wasn't even in the same country that day. It was enough proof to clear the rumor. But the damage, the emotional damage, had already begun. Irina watched from her phone, smiling slightly as she saw the online chaos she'd created. "It's working," she whispered to herself, but she underestimated one thing: Georgina's strength. Instead of breaking apart, Georgina and Ronaldo stood closer together. They posted pictures, laughed at the rumors, and showed the world their bond was stronger than any gossip. The fake photo faded from headlines within a week. Irina's little plan had failed again. But Irina wasn't done. Not yet. Each failure only made her colder, more strategic. She started collecting more images, edits, even hiring digital artists who could manipulate photos with frightening accuracy. If one fake can't do it, she thought, 100 will. She began constructing an entire illusion, a collection of doctored photos and fake stories showing Ronaldo in situations that never happened. Private dinners, secret meetings, hidden messages, all digitally designed to look authentic. Her goal wasn't just to fool Georgina this time. It was to destroy the public's image of their relationship. Meanwhile, Ronaldo was facing the toughest matches of the season. The pressure was immense, the media noise unbearable. Every time he walked into the stadium, cameras followed, waiting for any reaction to the rumors. He didn't give them one. He focused, trained harder, and played with the same discipline he always had. But inside, he felt the frustration of being hunted by lies. Georgina tried to stay strong. She comforted him, reminded him that the truth always wins. But even she couldn't ignore the cruel comments online. People calling her blind, saying Ronaldo would never change, comparing her to Irina over and over. It hurt. One night, After putting their children to bed, Georgina sat alone, staring at her reflection in the mirror. "Why can't she just move on?" she whispered. Ronaldo came in, placed his hand on her shoulder, and said softly, "Because she never learned how to lose." Outside, far away, Irina stared at her screen again. She was studying new edits. Sharper, cleaner, harder to detect. "They think they can ignore me," she murmured, "but I'll make them feel my presence." But what Irina didn't know was that her actions were being watched too. Someone close to her team, a person she trusted, was secretly in contact with Ronaldo's management. Every photo, every edit, every fake story was being traced. The trap was quietly being set, not for Ronaldo or Georgina, but for Irina herself. The game she started to destroy love was now about to destroy her, and she didn't even know it yet. The storm that Irina had started was beginning to fade from the public's memory. But inside her mind, the storm only grew stronger. Days passed, weeks followed. Yet the world had moved on. Ronaldo and Georgina were shining brighter than ever. Their photos filled magazines. Their love stories played across television interviews. Every smile between them, every moment of affection, felt like a knife to Irina's pride. She couldn't stand it anymore. Failure was not something she knew how to accept. Not in her career, not in her life, and definitely not in love. She looked at herself in the mirror, makeup perfect, eyes cold and sharp. "If the world won't believe my truth," she whispered, "then I'll make them believe a lie so perfect, they'll never question it." That night, she made her next move in a quiet apartment in Paris. Far from the noise of fame, Irina met a small team: digital artists, fake journalists, and a shadowy figure known for selling stories to tabloids. They all owed her favors, and she knew how to collect. On the table lay a laptop, open, glowing, showing folders filled with photos, screenshots, and videos. Each one manipulated, each one crafted with precision. Irina leaned closer, her voice low and controlled. "I want the world to believe Ronaldo isn't the man they think he is. I want Georgina to doubt every smile, every word. I want the public to question everything about them." The man across from her, a thin, quiet editor, nodded slowly. "You're asking for destruction," he said. Irina smiled faintly. "No," she corrected him. "I'm asking for justice." Within days, the internet began to buzz again. A leaked chat screenshot appeared online. Messages supposedly between Ronaldo and Irina. Then a blurred video, taken in what looked like a hotel lobby, showing a man who resembled Ronaldo hugging a woman who looked suspiciously like Irina. The timing was perfect, just when Ronaldo and Georgina were attending a charity event in Milan. The chaos reignited. News outlets rushed to report it. Fans began to argue, and Georgina, she saw it too. Her heart raced as she scrolled through her phone. The photos looked real, terrifyingly real. She wanted to trust Ronaldo. She wanted to believe him. But doubts, tiny and poisonous, began to creep in again. She felt the weight of public judgment pressing down on her. "Is this ever going to stop?" she whispered to herself. Ronaldo noticed her silence. He sat beside her, holding her hand gently. "You think I'd risk everything for a ghost?" he asked softly. She shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "I know you wouldn't. But she's trying so hard to make me think you did." He nodded. "Then let's stop her together." That's when Ronaldo's management team took control. They gathered every piece of evidence, every trace of digital manipulation, every false upload. They traced IP addresses, digital fingerprints, and timestamps. Slowly, the pattern began to form, every single one leading back to Irina's private contacts. While this investigation quietly unfolded, Irina was celebrating. She believed her plan had finally worked. She could see the online storm rising again, fans attacking Georgina, people speculating about Ronaldo's faithfulness. She smiled as she watched a talk show headline appear: "Ronaldo's past haunting his present?" But what she didn't know was that the trap she had built was starting to close around her. Behind the scenes, one of her trusted digital editors, the same man who helped craft those fake photos, had begun to regret his involvement. He had a family, children, and a conscience that wouldn't let him rest. One night, he sent an anonymous message to Ronaldo's management with copies of their work, timestamps, and even voice recordings of Irina's instructions. The truth was now in the hands of the very people she tried to destroy. Meanwhile, Georgina began to recover her strength. She realized something. Irina wanted her to lose her calm, to lash out, to make herself look weak. Instead, Georgina decided to show grace, silence, and unity. She appeared on camera with Ronaldo at a public event, hand in hand, both smiling. Cameras flashed, journalists shouted questions about the scandal, but she said nothing. Her silence was more powerful than any denial. That same night, Ronaldo released a simple statement on social media. Love built on truth cannot be destroyed by lies. The internet erupted, this time in their favor. Fans rallied behind them, defending Georgina, mocking the fake rumors, and calling out Irina's obsession. Slowly, the tide turned. Irina couldn't believe it. Everything she had built, every fake story, every photo was collapsing. She scrolled through her phone furiously, reading comment after comment calling her desperate, jealous, and manipulative. Her chest tightened. She smashed her phone onto the floor, shattering the screen. "No, this isn't how it ends," she screamed. But fate had already chosen its side. A few days later, news broke. A major digital forensic agency announced it had uncovered a network of fake media files linked to an international model. Though they didn't mention her name, everyone knew who it was. The evidence was clear, the fakes, the metadata, the source files. Irina's brand sponsors started to back away. Contracts were under review. Campaigns quietly removed her face from billboards. The empire she had built, the fame, the influence, began to crumble. Ronaldo and Georgina stayed silent, watching everything unfold. They didn't need revenge. The truth was enough. But even as Irina's reputation started to sink, she refused to accept defeat. She locked herself away from the public. Her social media accounts deactivated. Her team disbanded. Days turned into weeks of silence. The world assumed she was gone, humiliated and forgotten. Yet, in the shadows, Irina was still thinking, still plotting. She sat in the dark one night, staring at her reflection, her eyes hollow, her mind restless. "If I can't destroy them with lies," she murmured, "maybe I'll destroy them with truth." And in that moment, a new plan began to form, one darker, one personal, one that would reach deeper than any fake photo ever could. But what she didn't know yet was that Ronaldo's world was no longer as unguarded as before. Every move she made, every word she whispered, every person she contacted, was now being watched. Because love had survived her lies once, and this time, truth itself was ready to expose her. Silence. For weeks, Irina disappeared from the public eye. No interviews, no photoshoots, no appearances. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. But silence can be more dangerous than noise, because silence hides planning. Behind that quietness, Irina was reborn. Not as the model the world once admired, but as a woman determined to rewrite her story. This time, she didn't want fame. She wanted vengeance, wrapped in truth. Her apartment in Paris became her new war room. Curtains closed, lights dimmed. Her desk scattered with papers, screenshots, and old memories. She revisited everything. Every message, every photograph, every fragment of her past with Ronaldo. She searched for something real, something she could twist just enough to sound believable, but not fake enough to be exposed again. "Truth," she whispered to herself. "That's the weapon they can't take from me." She started reaching out to old contacts, people who had worked with Ronaldo years ago, assistants, photographers, even ex-teammates. Some ignored her, others hesitated. But Irina was persuasive. With promises of money or exposure, she gathered fragments. Stories taken out of context, small details that sounded intimate but were harmless. Then, she carefully wove them together into a narrative designed to wound. Her plan was to release an exclusive tell-all interview, not filled with fake photos this time, but with half-truths coded in pain. She wanted the world to see Ronaldo not as a villain, but as a man who used love like a trophy. Her tears, her tone, her timing, everything rehearsed, everything ready to make headlines again. Meanwhile, in Riyadh, Ronaldo trained under the burning sun, unaware of the storm Irina was preparing. Georgina, though, sensed it. She had seen the pattern, the calm before the chaos. She could feel that Irina wasn't done. One evening, she sat beside Ronaldo as he tied his shoelaces before practice. "She's not gone," Georgina said softly. "People like her never disappear. They just wait." Ronaldo looked at her, his expression calm but firm. "Then let her wait," he said. "We're not afraid of shadows anymore." But this time, the shadows were different. A few weeks later, a major European news outlet teased an upcoming exclusive. "Irina speaks." The untold story of her life with Cristiano Ronaldo. The trailer showed Irina's face in tears, her voice breaking as she said, "Sometimes, love becomes a game you don't know how to win." The internet exploded again. Fans divided. Some defended Ronaldo, others demanded answers. Georgina stared at the screen in disbelief. "She's doing it again," she whispered. But Ronaldo wasn't surprised. He simply nodded. "Let her talk," he said quietly. "Because this time, we'll let the truth speak louder." What Irina didn't know was that Ronaldo's team had already prepared for this. They had gathered witnesses, messages, videos, and proof of Irina's manipulation. Not to humiliate her, but to defend the truth when the time came. The day of the interview arrived. Millions tuned in across the world. Irina sat in a white dress, minimal makeup, the picture of sincerity. She spoke calmly, emotionally, carefully choosing every word. She didn't accuse Ronaldo directly. She was smarter than that. She painted herself as a victim of fame, of pressure, of being replaced by Georgina. "People think I was jealous," she said softly. "But they don't know what I went through. There were promises, there were plans, and then one day I was left behind. I didn't try to destroy anyone's life. I just wanted my truth to be heard." Her words spread like wildfire. Clips flooded social media. Hashtags trended overnight. For a moment, it seemed like she had won again, until the next morning Ronaldo's team released their own documentary segment. A calm, factual, emotionless video. It showed timestamps, messages, emails, and witnesses who had worked with both Ronaldo and Irina. The evidence painted a very different picture of a woman who couldn't move on, who manipulated her image, and who twisted half-truths into dangerous stories. The impact was devastating. The world watched the contrast. Irina's emotional narrative versus Ronaldo's undeniable proof. Slowly, public sympathy began to shift again. People started to question her motives. Why now? Why repeat the past? Why target Georgina again? Irina's interview, which was supposed to rebuild her image, began to crumble in real time. The comment sections filled with doubt. Journalists retracted their praise. The host of the show even issued a statement that certain claims in Irina's story didn't align with verified evidence. Irina woke up that morning to chaos. Her phone buzzed endlessly. Her agent panicking. Her PR team silent. She opened social media to find herself trending again, but this time under new hashtags. Hashtag Irina exposed and hashtag truth wins. She stared at her reflection, realizing the horror of what she had done. Her final card, her truth, had backfired. She sat on the floor, surrounded by the echoes of her own war, and for the first time, she felt the weight of true defeat. Meanwhile, Ronaldo and Georgina spent that evening quietly at home. There were no celebrations, no public statements. Georgina poured 2 cups of tea, handed one to him, and said softly, "It's finally over." Ronaldo smiled faintly. "No," he said, "it's just peace, and that's better than victory." As the night settled, Irina stood by her window, watching the city lights below her fade. Her world, once bright, full of fame, applause, and admiration, now felt empty. The people she tried to control had moved on, and the lies she tried to sell had destroyed her credibility. Yet, somewhere deep down, a tear rolled down her cheek, not out of anger, not out of hate, but out of the realization that she lost something long before she ever started this fight herself. And as the world turned its gaze elsewhere, Irina whispered into the silence, "I wanted him back, not to love him again, but to remind myself I mattered. But love built on pain never heals, and revenge, no matter how carefully planned, always destroys the one who carries it." The story of Irina, Ronaldo, and Georgina became more than gossip. It became a lesson that lies can shake hearts, but truth will always find its way home. And so, as the lights dimmed on that final chapter of her obsession, Irina finally understood what she had been running from all along. Not Ronaldo's love, not Georgina's happiness, but her own emptiness. The world had gone quiet for Irina. The flash of cameras, the hum of applause, the endless requests for interviews, all gone. What remained was silence, a silence that felt heavier than any noise she'd ever known. Days turned into weeks, and the glamour that once surrounded her faded like perfume after rain. The world had moved on, news outlets shifted to new stories, fans forgot the drama, and Ronaldo and Georgina continued living their lives, smiling under the sun while Irina hid behind closed doors. Inside her apartment, the curtains stayed drawn. Dust gathered on the mirrors she once admired herself in. The phone barely rang, and when it did, it was never good news. Brand deals had vanished. Modeling contracts were suspended. Friends stopped visiting. Not out of cruelty, but out of fear of being seen with her. Irina had fallen from the top. Not because of scandal alone, but because of the truth she refused to face for the first time. She had no one to blame but herself. One cold morning, she woke up to the sound of her own heartbeat echoing through the empty room. Her reflection in the window looked almost unrecognizable. Tired eyes, pale skin, a faint shadow of who she used to be. She whispered, "Is this who I've become?" It wasn't the fame she missed. It was purpose. She had built her life on attention, on validation, on the illusion that being seen was the same as being loved. But now, when no one was watching, she finally began to see herself clearly. Her mind wandered back to the early days with Ronaldo. The laughter, the quiet dinners, the simplicity of love before fame twisted it. She remembered how he once told her, "Fame will test who we really are." At the time, she didn't understand it. Now she did, painfully, because fame had tested her, and she had failed. While the world forgot about her, Ronaldo's life only grew brighter. He continued to play, to win, to live, not as a celebrity chasing perfection, but as a man grounded by love. Georgina stood by him, their bond stronger than ever. And though Irina never spoke of it, she still watched from afar. Not out of jealousy anymore, but from a strange, quiet acceptance. There was a time she wanted to see them fall. Now, watching them made her realize how deeply she had lost herself trying to rewrite a past that was never meant to continue. One afternoon, Irina received a letter from her agency. It was polite, but cold. They were officially ending their contract. "We wish you the best," it said. The words felt like a goodbye to everything she once was. She sat at her desk for hours, staring at that letter. For the first time, she didn't cry. She just felt empty. That night, she decided to walk outside. It had been months since she last did. The Paris streets were glowing softly with streetlights, the air crisp. People passed her without recognition. She was just another face now, and somehow that anonymity felt peaceful. She stopped by a small cafe near the river. The same cafe she used to visit years ago, when she first moved to Paris with dreams of modeling and love. She ordered tea, sat by the window, and watched the world move. For the first time in a long while, she didn't think about revenge or the past. She just breathed as she sipped her tea. She noticed a couple nearby, laughing, holding hands, lost in their own little world. They reminded her of herself and Ronaldo once upon a time. But instead of pain, she felt a strange calmness wash over her. She smiled faintly, whispering to herself, "Maybe love isn't meant to be possessed. Maybe it's meant to be remembered." That night, when she returned home, she opened her laptop and deleted every photo, every folder, every trace of her plan. The lies, the edits, the reminders of obsession. One by one, they vanished from her screen. Like ghosts leaving her life. It was the first real choice she had made for peace, not power. Meanwhile, far away, Ronaldo and Georgina were at a charity event. Cameras flashed as they stood together, surrounded by children and fans. Their love radiated effortlessly. Not loud, not forced, just pure. And as photographers shouted their names, Ronaldo looked at Georgina with quiet pride, whispering, "They tried to break what they never understood." Georgina smiled softly. "But love doesn't break," she said. "It bends and heals." At that exact same moment, Irina sat on her balcony, looking at the same moon that hung over them. For the first time, she didn't feel anger or envy or regret, only acceptance. She whispered into the night, "You win, Georgina. You always did." And somewhere deep within her, she realized it wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about letting go. Days later, Irina posted something unexpected on social media. Her first post in months. It wasn't a photo of herself or a quote filled with mystery. It was just a picture of the sunrise with a caption that said, "Peace isn't found in revenge. It's found in forgiveness, especially when you forgive yourself." The world noticed. Not with mockery this time, but with quiet respect. Comments poured in, not gossip, not hate, but encouragement. People saw a different Irina. Not the scandal, not the manipulator, but a woman who had finally stopped running. Ronaldo saw the post too. He didn't react publicly, didn't comment, didn't share. But later that night, As he sat beside Georgina scrolling through his phone, he said quietly, "She finally found peace." Georgina looked at him and smiled gently. Then maybe the story is finally over. And it was. Not with fire, not with revenge, not with another storm of lies, but with silence, healing, and acceptance. Because in the end, love survived, truth triumphed, and Irina, after losing everything, found the only thing she had never truly known, herself.